Hello everyone, this is Crota giving you a shoutcast and a game between Lucifron versus PandaTank here on Belshir Vestige. PandaTank spawning as the green Protoss on the bottom right hand side of the map. Meanwhile, Lucifron is playing under mouse sports. On the top left hand side of the mouse. So Lucifron versus PandaTank, a TVP matchup, and I just love saying PandaTank. That's because I was co-casting with someone out from Europe and he kept on saying PandaTank, and it sounded so much cooler than just PandaTank. So PandaTank it is this time around, a little bit slight accent, but hopefully it doesn't annoy you guys all too much. Now, in this TVP matchup, it has been a while since I've cast some StarCraft, had some crazy antics over the weekend preventing me from getting into the game, so I am just going straight into this and hoping that everything does come back from memory. So far in this TVP matchup, it looks as though the gateway should be coming down momentarily. There is already the barracks not being added on the front door. Meanwhile, there goes the gateway as PandaTank is starting to move out with this scout. Now, sometimes, or most of the times, Protoss players do like to scout out with the 9 probe, the one that just warps in the pylon, but this is a bit delayed. I'm not sure the reasoning behind this. He did get a little bit more of an economic opening off of this, as he is now moving out across the map, and he will be coming a little bit out of the standard way, perhaps trying to make sure that there are no proxy barracks. You can see now that the probe will be coming up the ramp, and pretty much notice that there are no strange antics whatsoever. Now, it has become increasingly popular to go for a Reaper opening, so I don't know if we'll be going into that. Dual Reapers followed up by a Reactor. That has become rather common as well, as the Reactor can then transition into a factory for Widow Mines or Hellions. The additional firepower from Widow Mines from a factory, an early factory not requiring a tech lab, has really opened up the way that many Terran players play. Meanwhile, we are looking at a pretty standard build coming in from PandaTank here. He is getting up to 16 probes. Based upon this, I would normally expect a Nexus to be coming in next, as we already see a command center coming in from Lucifron. So we'll have to wait and see. Is the timing just so right? Yes, it is. PandaTank comes back around, sets up that Nexus back at home, and then we'll be getting that warp gate up in just a moment. I do believe, wait, where is it? Wait for it. No warp gate tech research yet. That is a bit surprising, as we are now going into a mothership core followed by a stalker, most likely to deal with this early Reaper. The Reaper gonna be taking a little bit of damage there. That Reaper firing as quickly as it can, but taking a little bit of damage. All that damage is just superficial, as it will heal up rather quickly in just a moment. Meanwhile, a Stalker will be coming out to join in on this fight as well, as the Reaper is just hoping that he can get in some small amount of damage. All right, there it goes. You can see that the Reaper is taking a bit more damage once again. No combat sense there, as the Stalker is going to be sitting there on the low ground getting in some easy shots. Oh, there it is, as the Reaper, now down to 19 hit points, will not be able to follow this up. Meanwhile, we do see that a Reactor is training up Marines, foregoing that early factory. A handful of Marines, generally more than enough to handle any aggression that PandaTank could come out with. This early scouting Reaper, even though it is not doing that much damage, is already paying for itself, because it has scouted out his opponent without having to sacrifice an early worker. You can see that the Reaper is just moving around there, keeping track, keeping sight, and knowing approximately when his opponent is going to start saturating the natural expansion. We are going to be getting up on 2 bases at about the same time, as Lucifron is setting up his orbital command here at the lower natural expansion. So far, worker count is fairly even, 30 to 24, with the addition of 2 mules. Each mule does pretty much count as 6 workers, if you guys are wondering what the math is. As we now see the Reaper try to come back in, he is trying to do a suicide run, trying to scout. It looks like those combat drugs may make him, or will allow him to scout out just a little bit longer, but one more shot and he will get taken down. Oh, there he goes, a very long wide arch, and wow, is he gonna make it? No, the Reaper decides to stop, stand next to a pylon, fire those seemingly useless pistols at a Stalker, as he does get shot down. Now we are looking at a handful of Marines making a move out across the map. Not quite sure why the two Marines are actually separated into two different squadrons. This could be rather bad news, especially as an observer will see these 6 Marines already coming in. There is the observer there. It is going to catch sight of all of these Marines now walking together. And with that, PandaTank should have enough information to deal with this handful of Marines. Meanwhile, back over here, Lucifron is going very heavy into bio. You can see 3 barracks. Tech Lab already researching Stim. Combat Shield could be coming up next, as we already should be looking at a starport with a reactor momentarily. Stim has always been a very, very useful upgrade, just increasing the amount of damage, adding additional speed, and allowing those Marines to stutter step. Meanwhile, let's take a look. We are going into that reactor there now. Still no concussive shell or combat shield, as Lucifron is perhaps going to be getting those upgrades just as he needs them. There you see it. There's the combat shield. The concussive shell should be coming in right behind it, and the timing on this should be perfect, where he has, I believe, level 1 weapons and armor upgrades, combat shield, and concussive shells. The timing on this build is so tight. There is not any real wiggle room here, as we are seeing very heavy production. There you have it. More and more Marines going to be coming out of the Tech Lab barracks as well, hoping to get even more medevacs into play. We are running on 4 gas here, as Lucifron is rearing up to go for perhaps an 11 or 12 minute hit. Coming back around, we are looking at PandaTank going into Blink. Blink with level 2 armor upgrades, the perfect counter to those very fast hitting Marines. We should be seeing perhaps even more sentries being added, as well as Guardian Shield could make a very big difference. You got to remember, Guardian Shield plus level 2 armor upgrades means that Zealots will have a total armor of 5. Total armor of 5 reduces the amount of damage a Marine does to 2. And you got to imagine how you can do the math on how many shots it takes to 2 damage shots it takes to get past 100 hit points. That is rather a lot, as we are looking at a scanner sweep now finally coming in. All right, the engineering bays are now done. Concussive shell is perhaps a little bit later. It should have been started earlier, as we now see the engagement come in. A beautiful timing by Lucifron coming in here, but he did get split. We can see the Colossus now trying to back off here. No, not enough energy for Guardian Shield, being forced to use it for force fields instead. And off of that engagement, the Photon Overcharge on the Nexus actually adding a bit more shots as well. All right, the Stalkers could have blinked to engage. Not quite sure. No, they could not have blinked to engage. It is still just not done. Still plenty of energy on 1, if not 2 Nexuses in order to get that done faster. That would have been a huge chase down if he actually had blink done in time. Lucifron now trying to lick his wounds just a bit. Taking a look at the losses are pretty even, but somehow in the chaos, in the mess, Lucifron was able to get up his 3rd base. Now, it is normal for Terran players to get up their 3rd base faster than a Protoss, as the Zealots are now pretty much challenging this base right now, making sure that the SCVs cannot mine freely. We are going to see the rest of the SCVs show up to the party. There we go. The income is going to be slightly higher for Lucifron. He does have an 8 worker advantage at this point, as we're still seeing triple SCV production. PandaTank has a very small window where he's going to have any sort of army lead. He needs to come out ahead very quickly, as a medevac almost gets shot down there, being able to turn on those afterburners, getting away just enough. But if it dilly-daddles too long, it will get shot down momentarily. Meanwhile, PandaTank is setting up his 3rd base. We are going to see medevacs now wandering around the map, trying to clean up these proxy pylons. Proxy pylons always a problem when you are away from home and units can go behind enemy line. You can see that there is an observer down over here. The medevac is perhaps not going to scout that out. We do see 1 observer here, as well as there are now Vikings in the air to challenge those Colossus. Income still much higher for the Terran. 600 minerals, 100 gas, with a 12 worker difference. That does mean that the army supply is still rather even at 70 to 67, but you gotta believe that Lucifron is able to replenish those forces faster. PandaTank, however, came in and is now challenging a handful of SCVs. It looks as though some of them may get taken down. Only 2 workers really lost so far. Not quite sure what's going on, as the Zealot will not be able to finish off a Marauder who does have 1/1 upgrades and getting healed by Medevac. Meanwhile, you can see one poor, I'm not quite sure what unit that was. It looks like the remains of a Marauder, but I'm not 100% sure there, as we are looking at Colossus and Immortals. Now, this is where things are starting to get a little bit interesting. You can see that level 3 weapons upgrades already coming in, and level 3 armor upgrades. 2/2 upgrades against 2/0. Zealots, that means Zealots are only going to be dealing 6 damage or 5 damage per, or 10 damage per swipe. That is rather low than the standard 16. It is, however, curious to note that the Protoss Zealots do have already 0-3 upgrades, so it's 2/2 versus 0-3, and that I'm just kind of curious as to why PandaTank opted to not get higher armor or higher weapons upgrades. If he tried to couple it with better Guardian's shield usage, it would make total sense that Zealots with 6 armor would pretty much be able to stand up to any of these attacks. But so far we've only seen force fields, and with only force fields, after the units get taken down, the Zealots are pretty much useless at that point. However, in the hands of a masterful player who can focus down those sentries with Guardian Shield, you also have to consider that as well. The Archon really not benefiting very much from that 0-3 upgrade at all. He has 3 armor for 10 hit points, and that is it. So I don't quite understand what PandaTank is doing. He needs to get better upgrades. He's going for this Zealot Archon combination, and unless he hits some beautiful Psystorms without having to worry about a lot of ghosts, he is going to have a very bad day. All right, the Zealots do have charge, but they did not go after these ghosts. The ghosts just turning around and able to take down these units so easily. That Ghost with 2 armor compared to these Zealots who have no attack upgrades just didn't really deal enough. All right, it looks like it is going to be a massive battle coming up next. PandaTank has lost a bit more, and at this stage, I would say that he's behind the 8 ball. He doesn't have the right unit mix. Even if he does feed back all of the ghosts in play, he doesn't have the weapons upgrades. And on top of that, Vikings are now in play to shoot down Colossus. With level 1 weapons upgrade, as we are now going into 2-3, apparently already going up against 3-3, as we're also going into personal cloaking. So far, this Heart of the Swarm game is looking very much like Wings of Liberty. The only real difference has been the Reaper and that Mothership Core. No real additions anywhere else, as the Archons are still dancing a bit back and forth. All right. This is a problem though. Lucifron has allowed PandaTank to max up on supply as well. We are going to be going up at max supply versus max supply. Army supply is now higher for Lucifron, as PandaTank losing a couple of units out across. Zealots are now trying to challenge here in the top right corner, as we are going to be seeing an engagement over here on the bottom left as well. SCVs with the Zealots are just standing around, and they're not even engaging here for some odd reason, as the SCVs the Zealots are just holding position, slowly getting taken down. However, they are getting in a few bits of damage there, as the Zealot is finally now gone. So purposely on hold position instead of trying to engage, as more Zealots now coming in to engage again. There you have it. Zealots are taking down all of these SCVs here. Worker kill count up to 15, as the Zealots are just outside of combat range. If the Zealots moved off into right there, that would be a very, very smart call. So far, PandaTank with these hold position Zealots is really hurting the gas income of Lucifron, but that's about it. Are we going to see these units make their way over? The shields are recharging in the opponent's base, as we now see an engagement. Vikings coming in, going after the Colossus. A beautiful EMP shockwave, depleting all of the shields across these units. The High Templars do have maximum energy as well, making them a little bit more difficult to spot. But you can see that they are right there, ready to go. Perhaps we will see more Psystorm coming in once again. So far, that bunker has been uploaded. Zealots now challenging this planetary fortress. The planetary fortress does not have the additional armor. We are going into a Dark Strand and additional Colossus as well, as PandaTank is looking very, very strong right now, as his opponent, Lucifron, has let him get back into this. All right, there you go. There's those massive Psystorms. There's some EMP, and do we have enough observers? There's another Psystorm coming in, as the Ghosts are just charging straight forward into this battle. Here you go, the Vikings now trying to charge in as well. It looks as though the Terran Bioforce with the Viking support and Ghosts just getting off massive EMP shockwaves, damage across the board, but most of the damage coming in from the Marauders and the Marines is from Stim. As you can take a look, many of the Ghosts are fully healed up in terms of hit points. All right, Marauder Marines still pushing in. It looks like this base may be falling, as the Vikings pretty much can go into ground mode. There is the GG, as PandaTank loses game 1 to Lucifron in a very, very impressive push by Lucifron. Now, I have heard it said that StarCraft 2, it just seems like there's a lot of macroing and not as much micro. Now, this is where I have to disagree with some of those comments out there. That last push, the use of Vikings, the use of Ghosts, and the use of Marauders and Marines in separate control groups to engage on Panda was nearly spot on. He was able to minimize the amount of damage that Psystorm was able to do. He was able to focus down the Colossus to remove that threat, while moving forward with Ghosts, getting snipes and EMPs down to force PandaTank into a very, very uncomfortable position. Yes, there was a lot of macroing in this game. There was an actual 2 to 3 minute stretch where it didn't seem like anyone was fighting each other. But on top of that, it was really Lucifron's execution with a lot of units, very, very carefully, that won him that battle. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Hope you guys enjoyed game 1. Please stay tuned for game 2.